Have you ever wondered what would happen if your emotions could influence what you eat, creating an intangible link between the joy of food and the deepest experiences of your life? Imagine a restaurant where every bite not only satisfies hunger but also awakens joy, sadness, and all the shades of human emotion. That was the life of Clara, an exceptionally talented chef who discovered an unusual ability. She could infuse her feelings into her dishes. With each ingredient, each technique, Clara immersed herself in her memories, channeling intense emotions and transforming them into unique culinary experiences. The magic of her cooking began to attract a crowd of diners eager to feel the happiness she created in every bite. Her specialty, the happiest dish in the world, became a sensational wonder that not only delighted the palate, but also illuminated the spirits of those who tasted it. However, fame comes at a price that is rarely mentioned. Clara soon realized that every positive emotion she conveyed in her dishes required an inevitable balance with her own traumas, dark memories, and painful moments she had buried deep inside her. In her quest to create happiness in her patrons, she began to feel her own happiness fading away. Her kitchen, once a refuge filled with love and passion, transformed into a prison where the weight of her past slowly crushed her. With each smile she managed to provoke, a part of her stripped away her human essence, becoming trapped in a cycle of despair she could not break. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, while her mind fragmented like a broken glass. The restaurant, once a place of light, began to fill with a silent pressure that stifled laughter and chatter. Clara, no longer just a chef, became a shadow of her former self, an echo of the vibrant woman she once was, and in her effort to continue creating happy dishes, she found herself increasingly ensnared in a spiral of anguish and hopelessness. Thus, amid the aroma of spices and the sound of crackling fire, her story became a tale of psychological horror, a journey through the labyrinths of her tormented mind. Each new recipe transformed into a symbol of her internal struggle, a macabre waltz between the joy she brought to her customers and the deep sorrow that stripped her of her humanity. Clara walked the thin line between culinary genius and madness, exposing herself to the reality that for every dish she offered to the world, her soul wore a little thinner. Desperation began to seep into her creations, and although her patrons continued to praise her talent, they could feel the subtle change in flavors. The pleasure and happiness they once felt morphed into a strange void, as if each bite were infused with a latent melancholy they could not fully understand. Days passed, and the restaurant that had been an emblem of joy soon transformed into a place of unease. Rumors began to spread among the regulars. Some commented that Clara's dishes had a somber touch, a sadness that crept into every bite. A group of food critics decided to visit, lured by the magic of the fame that once was. When they tasted the famous recipe of happiness, their comments echoed what had been brewing in the atmosphere. A cloud of unease settled over the restaurant, and those who once sat down to enjoy Clara's dishes began to leave without finishing their meals, as if a primal instinct warned them that something was wrong. In her solitude, Clara began to reveal herself. Every cut of onion seemed to slice at her soul, and every splash of oil represented a stifled scream that longed to escape. What had she done to reach this point? It was as if she had plunged into a thick fog that prevented her from seeing beyond her own painful emotions. Yet, amid the storm, she found an old recipe notebook she had forgotten. In its pages were notes about her childhood, the happy moments she had thought were enough to balance her pain. As she read those lines, a mix of nostalgia and desperation invaded her being. It was an emotional trap, a reminder that everything she had loved had also come at a cost. In her quest to continue feeding a world that devoured emotions, Clara decided to experiment with a new dish. This time, she would not only channel happiness, but dared to mix it with the pain she had carried for so long. She used a mysterious ingredient she had found at the local market, a mushroom that promised to offer a powerful and unique flavor. However, Clara did not know that this mushroom contained properties that awakened the deepest nightmares. As she cooked with it, the kitchen transformed into a battleground, where every aroma called her to confront the internal demons she had relegated to the back of her mind. The day of the new dish's presentation arrived, and anticipation filled the air. Critics, drawn by curiosity and the restaurant's fame, eagerly awaited the promised flavors. Clara, with a mix of nerves and determination, presented her creation before them. The first bite was met with awe. The critics' faces transformed, and although the food was exceptional, there was something more. A trace of pain slipped through their spines, a profound sadness that began to fill the space. But Clara, entranced by the applause, failed to realize that she had unleashed something much darker. Patrons began to experience a sort of catharsis, and what started as recognition of her talent soon became a spiral of uncontrollable emotions that led them to relive forgotten traumas. The restaurant, once a refuge, transformed into a place of confrontation, where laughter faded and conversations turned into whispers of anguish. Clara, trapped in the echo of her own creation, no longer knew how to turn back. The walls began to whisper her story, and the dishes, far from being a source of happiness, became a mirror reflecting her profound desolation. It was then that she decided this madness must come to an end, but the price had already been paid. Her mind had failed, fracturing into a series of memories that haunted her. The last recipe she had created was, ironically, her condemnation, a thread connecting her not only to her past, but to the despair she had cultivated for so long. In her desperation, Clara faced a final dilemma. Would she continue creating dishes that drained her pain, turning her into a shadow of who she once was, or would she find a way to heal? With the weight of her traumas on her shoulders, she decided that the restaurant, that jewel of her life, must close. She could no longer risk her own existence for the ephemeral happiness of others. So, on a cold, dark night, she closed the doors of her beloved establishment, leaving behind the echoes of laughter and the promises of joy it once offered. Now, looking back, Clara understood that she had learned a valuable lesson about the balance between pain and pleasure. It was not just about feeding others. It was about finding peace in her heart. From then on, she began to write and share her story instead of cooking. In doing so, she transformed her pain into words, becoming a storyteller who explored the macabre, the dark, and the beautiful facets of human experience. If you have ever wondered what lies behind each dish, remember that in the kitchen, as in life, there is a delicate balance between light and darkness. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like, comment on what you thought, and follow the channel for more tales that awaken the deepest emotions. I look forward to seeing you in the next story, where terror and reality intertwine in unexpected ways.